Perry, one of the things that people are experiencing right now is, and we'll cover off the challenges of the C word, the COVID-19. So I'm afraid to say it in case the podcast gets blocked or something, because it feels like every time people mention the coronavirus or mentioning anything on YouTube, Facebook, there seems to be an awful lot of pulling down of material. But anyway, hopefully we're safe. But one of the things that agencies are experiencing right now, kind of like a dual sword, which you have been, the way you set up your business, working Israel and America, you've been running a remote team, an international team. Agencies right now, what they're experiencing is the fact that they can work with clients internationally. They can get a talent pool internationally because everyone's getting very competent and comfortable working from home. But also their team is under attack because they can now, other people can go, oh, hang on, I can work remote. I might be in the UK, but I can work for an American company. What are your tips and advice, having run this for now 6-7 years of experience of running international global agency with a remote team and an international team?
Yeah, you made a couple of points. Retention is definitely an issue. Earlier when we were smaller, it was especially hard because we would bring on talent, and as you mentioned before, this was especially true on the Israel front, and that we'd have someone in 12 months later to get poached, and it not that it hasn't continued to happen, but as we've kind of gotten smarter, not just grown, but just grown and gotten smarter, we found that it's the different strategies of how to keep people, how to attract the right types of people so that they stay for longer periods of time, and it's a mixed bag. And so, and with what you said, the U.S., from we set up as remote from the day one. We initially thought that we would try to hire people in the same place and eventually get an office and get them together, but we kept finding these candidates, like you said, not because we thought about it. It was just like, oh, that's a great candidate, but they live 2 states away.
Yeah. What
the hell? We're gonna, let's take the person for the job rather than. We did try to keep people on the East Coast so that it would be easier for communication with the Israeli team, but also be able to work with a lot of our West Coast clients. But that being said, it's up and down the East Coast, and so that's been very successful, and we've done a good job of, for the most part, keeping the good talent. And in Israel, we did have more of an office-based team to start with, but pre-COVID, we've already started opening up our minds. We started making some hires. I remember having this conversation about a year ago. We found the perfect person, and they lived. And it doesn't sound like a lot to people outside of Israel, but they lived an hour drive away from the office.
Right.
And that's a lot for a
country for a small country. Yeah. Nobody like here. I have one friend who travels 40 minutes to her job, and everyone thinks she's absolutely crazy. Everyone else is in a very small circumference of their job. Yeah.
Right. So, so we that particular hire was saying, look, I can come in twice a week. And we said, go for it, let's do it. And,
awesome.
And it was a great hire. And so that's kind of been open. And so we've been more and more open about it. Of course, COVID hit and everybody was working from home. In fact, we opened the offices back up this week and said anybody who wants to come back in can, but it's, for the most part, people have stayed home. Yeah, I'm here.
You're there.
I've been here, Mark's here.
Good. Mark's there. Okay, you're not on your own.
Everybody should know Mark, but not. But okay. And people have come in and going, but it's not been it's not mandatory the office anymore. It's a different way of thinking, and we're taking that into account. So that is definitely looking forward. I'll see that. But back to the first point, I think we're doing a much better job at finding strategies that will help us keep people for much longer periods of time. so that we don't have the churn that really interrupts.
Yeah, you were getting a lot of poaching, which was a real credit to your agency, because people were coming in and getting these incredible skills. I remember us having a conversation about it, and I remember you clearly being very passionately and animated, and maybe a little bit on the angry side one day, going, God damn it. And I had to kind of go, well, it's kind of a good sign. You're like, people are really learning a lot. Yeah. So how have you, what can you sort of read someone right now going, I know what you're in here for the short, you're a wham bam, and then, oh, hang on, you're a long-term player. What's that kind of value or that kind of core thing that you can see in them, or like, what's that trait?
So to be brutally honest, and you know that I am, you need to know, you need to try to figure it out and be aware of it and have the right mix, because the people that are, you still need to, you can't, you still need some people that are more junior and that are coming in for the experience, and you know it, and you basically, the day they're hired, the clock is running. And right. Sometimes you're pleasantly surprised and sometimes you aren't. And you need to know the environment that you're in. So that, but those, usually those people are not as strategically required. Like if they leave, it will impact an account, but it won't impact a customer so heavily as the person that's running their day-to-day work. And those are the people that we really need to understand their intentions. It's I'm not a mind reader, but you can kind of get an idea from their resume where they've been. So for us, for example, one of the things that we take is that we know that there's this attraction to go to the startups. They want it, everybody wants to try it or be it. There's an excitement there. There's options. So one of the things we've done is first of all, pay fairly. So that is not an issue. Second is, if there's people that have been there, done that, and they're still talking to you, you know that they could easily walk across the street and get a job at that startup across the street, but they choose to come here. There's a reason they do. Because they don't want to work 12 hours a day, weekends, to meet all kinds of crazy startup deadlines and things like that, and that they want more of a work balance. They want to make a nice, decent pay, but they're also looking for a more variety of challenges. Yeah. Because again, when you work for one company, you get a limited amount of challenges. A lot of times you get pigeonholed, especially as the company grows. And people that have been through that, and you're at the whim of whoever the founder or the manager, people have been there, done that. A lot of times they make a decision, and it's for a longer term. Especially when we hire ex-CMOs. Those people have a lot of, they're on demand, and if they want to make this change into consulting, this is a great place to fall, because then they don't have to worry about getting their next customer. They get paid fairly. They're constantly being challenged across the multitude of customers with different technologies, with different ideas. And so so those have been some of the strategies that we've been working on. You also can't just be nice. I know it sounds so trivial. I've worked with for so many different startups, and some of them just weren't nice. And it wasn't fun. It's exciting for a while, but it's not fun to come to work every day when there's a hostile environment.
Yeah. And if you dig into the reasons that people choose, like you bring up a very good point, people have chosen to work for you. Like anyone in an agency right now, if they look around, I don't care what's going on around, there are plenty of jobs all over the world for people right now. They're choosing you and your business and your culture, and digging into that, like that, for example, like you said, that person coming into your business who could be across the road at a startup, when you uncover what it is that they want, it could be something like, oh, well, I've been watching your journey, Perry, for the last 5 years, and I really want to work with you. If you dig in enough. Now, giving that person half an hour a month or coffee or a mentorship or something could be the difference that they will choose to stay, and because they want to learn from you and they want to learn from a different environment. And I think that's very important, especially now as agencies go, like, through the ups and the downs, it's going, why does that person want to work? Dig in and get to the underneath reason, because it could be something like time you can give. It might not be more money. It could be, I actually want you to coach me or mentor me, and once a month, and it could be a coffee with them, probably virtually right now. Speaking of the things that are going on, before all this kicked off, we're now in the middle of May. We'll be putting this episode out in May. So May 2020, for anyone that's listening in the future and going, what are they talking about? We're in the middle of a pandemic. Israel has just come out of a lockdown. I know, it feels weird. I feel like I'm on a TV series saying this, going like some weird film. Israel did an incredible job coming, like we've been watching them. And I want to talk about the things that you guys have done that the rest of the world is going, oh no, we're not going to do that. But before things got shut down in March, how was the business going? How was the agency world going? How are things going with you? Were there any canaries? I'm asking everyone this. Was there anything you were experiencing, or did this come as a total surprise?
So, yes, it's been a tough couple of months, and that we had an incredible 2019 from a
you did,
from a business perspective, from a top line business perspective. If you would have been a fly on the wall in the board meeting in January of 2020, you would have heard us talking about we had an incredible year 2019. Let's focus on where do we go wrong in 2019 versus what do we do right? What we're doing right, we're continuing. We had an incredible pipeline into January and February were exceptional months. Record each month was just a record breaker until March hit. But you would have heard us talking about we need to figure out a way to pad the to have some more padding or bottom line. No, the bottom line was the problem. So we had grown so quickly in 2019 that we were hiring left, right, and center. We were doing it a lot smarter, like I said, but we were doing it probably more often than we should have. And we needed to my goal in 2020 was to figure out how do we turn this into a much more profitable business, but I didn't want to give up on the growth. And one of the things I had said in all, jokingly 2018, 2019 is that if we would go flatline for 6 months, we probably could figure it out. It's almost like that fly on the wall was listening, because 2000, whether I like it or not, maybe, we're definitely going to be flatlining, very little growth. In fact, we've had some negative growth over the last 2 months, but that it's going to grow a lot slower, at least for the next 3 to 4 months. So we're talking about 6 months from March. So once I got through the shock and you go through the phases and accepting the situation for what it is. Now we got to say, okay, this is where we are, and now the plans that we were talking about in January, we need to just go back to starting to implement them. And that goes to one of your questions before, how we're set up as a company. We need to look at the structure, see how we're set up, and really we can implement it, because we're pretty sure that we're going to be at a similar size even in 3 to 4 months, where we can take this change. And because in the past, every time we've made changes, it's been like changing the engine of a Boeing 747 while it's in the air.
Right.
And so by the time you get the change through, you're a different company. So we started changes in the beginning of 2019 when we were 22 people. By the time we got through the changes and implemented them all, we were 40. Yeah. So
different machine.
It's not I'm not complaining about that problem.
No.
I'd love to have that problem back. But this is where we are right now, so we're kind of looking at it that way. So back to your question, the short answer is we're moving to a pod structure. I know most companies have started in a pod structure and moved to a different one. We've been in a different structure, and now we're moving to the pod structure, which we hope to start implementing over the next few months.
Awesome. What are the types of things? So initially, like just for I have lots of different audience members. So Australia, businesses got relief. Europe, a lot of businesses got relief. America, businesses got relief. Was there relief for you in your business from the Israeli government?
Very little.
Yeah.
I got some relief from the US because of the US subsidiary.
And you have that business registered there. Fantastic. Okay.
Exactly. So that was very nice. And although, if I look at it, in Israel, we got a little bit of it's a drop in the bucket relief, basically, some help because lowering our taxes on the real estate that we're not using. But so it's really a drop in the bucket. Look, the way that there is relief in Israel for businesses, and I'm one of the things I think that it's tougher to get it, and I can complain that as a business owner. But at the end of the day, yes, the lockdown, the government decided on it, and so maybe they should try to take steps to ensure economic activity and whatever they need to do. But at the end of the day, you also have to be real and say, just giving us money to keep a business that's not working open doesn't make sense.
No.
So which is what happened in the US.
Right. They're kicking the can down the road.
Yeah. They basically said, your business, here's money. That was basically how it worked in the US.
Yeah. I've got a shop. Not the shop has been losing money for and the owner hasn't been paying it themselves any semblance of an amount of wages. They've just been propping it up. They got money. So that is kicking a can down the road. But client wise, from your perspective, what was the first the shutdown happened, what were clients saying to you? Were they pausing? Were they canceling? Were they reducing? What was the overall kind of balance in your business?
So three buckets. One was anybody who was in the pipeline immediately stopped. The pipeline just came to a complete freeze. Nobody was buying new things, at least for 30 days from the middle of March. The second was, there was a couple, 2 or 3 customers, or whatever, it doesn't matter the numbers, but that basically said, we are shutting down marketing activities with Penguin until further notice. So I wouldn't call that a pause, I just call that a cancellation. I don't like fooling myself.
Good idea. Yeah, good idea.
So that was that. And then there was a third bucket that said, okay, we need to cut costs. And so we're going to, reduce spend with you guys between, whatever it was, 10, 20, 30, 40%. And then there, thankfully, more than the biggest bucket was the ones that didn't do anything. So, overall, probably our billings, our month-to-month billings, from where we were in February to where we are today, it's probably gone down by 25 to 30%. And but we've also been able to maintain the bucket of the ones that have stayed the same. We've been able to give them a lot of attention. The team's been really, really great at making sure that we give them the best value, because they're getting a little bit more attention than they deserve, let's say, for what they're paying us. But which also has produced results in that some of them have actually taken some additional budget and given it to us. So we've been able to make up for some of it.
Yeah, great idea.
If you think about it, technology companies are one of the biggest spenders in events.
Massive.
So
yeah.
Yes. So although that budget got slashed immediately, the money was technically, some of it was still there. So they are doing some more spending. So we're starting to see, that's the light that we're starting to see at the end of this tunnel.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting. It must be so interesting for you to obviously wear both hats, right? So you have an American business and an Israeli business. How they've handled things in Israel with the fact that there is cybersecurity, the fact that there's apps, the fact that the kids are back at school. You're watching one country handle this situation and then looking over across the pond at people protesting for their freedom and up in arms. It must be quite fascinating for you as a person to wear both hats.
It is, and you need to be fair, though. I mean, even Ireland needs to be fair, right? We're an island, okay?
Yeah.
I mean, Ireland really is an island.
We are an island, yeah.
But we, for us to close the borders, is not simple, but it's very, very easy. The U.S.,
it's doable.
Is just a different.
I know.
You got 50 states that can do pretty much anything. They don't have to listen to the boss, and so it's really a much more complicated problem to navigate at the health wise, even at the economic level. So, and of course, you have so many different views, and I love talking politics with listening to especially with the employees. They're pretty open about this stuff. But that being said, we're also and Ireland might be similar in that way. I don't know as much about Ireland as maybe as you do, but being from a very military focused country, to us it's another emergency, right? It's
right.
3 years ago we were getting shelled.
You'd
10
hear
years
the
ago,
bomb signs go off, the warning signs, yeah, and go home.
so it's a people that are kind of used to it. And also, we have our own set of black humor. Is like, we're like, bring back the bombs, forget, it's
at least we knew what we were to do. This is so vague. Yeah, we knew what was happening. That is quite fascinating, actually. I think there is a lot of similarities there. I grew up in late 70s in Ireland. So we had the Troubles, we had Northern Ireland, we had war on, we had the IRA. Many times we were out of the schoolyard because it was a bomb scare. There's plenty of bomb scares. I grew up with that. And I think when you explain it to people, they go, what? And you're like, oh yeah, I guess that is kind of different. But it was normalized. It was like, oh, there's a bomb scare, get out of the building, stand in a field, wait for the detonation.
Oh, it's incredible what we're able to get used to. It's like,
oh yeah,
like you tell me 6 months ago that when I got to go to the grocery store, I got to wear a mask. I'd be like,
what are you talking about?
No chance. Why would I wear a mask? I
mean, what's that about? Yeah.
Send your kids to school with a mask.
I saw that. Yeah, I saw the pictures. Speaking of things that are different, what are you doing different in your agency? That is, have you uncovered some new opportunities, or is there a new service or a new product, or because that's a huge part of reimagining what you're doing. Love to hear what you're doing different and what you're excited about. At the end of the day, we're through the shock, we're through the pivoting bit. We're now building and rebuilding and readjusting. What have you done differently, and what are you excited about?
So in rethinking and looking back and kind of looking forward, is that there's a few things. First thing is that I was talking to an opportunity, and it was about a month ago, and he gave me a compliment that I didn't realize. It kind of opened up a thinking that I didn't think about proactively. But if we're talking to agency owners out there, that they may want to think about, and that was, we were looking for someone to implement HubSpot for us. Makes sense. Reach out to us. We're a HubSpot agency. And he says, not me, not Perry. Penguin was the only one on my list that the name that we were told, because when I got my recommendations, I got 4 recommendations. I'm not going to use the real names, but we should speak to John at whatever company, Tom at company, Mary at company, and we should talk to Penguin. Now, what was so interesting about that is that the branding were for all the others were consultants, right? Or the consultants at. It was it was a very individually based brand, which is, there's a lot of talk about personal branding, and that's absolutely important. But the fact is, he said, is that what's interesting is they didn't say, when we have our experts that they have their name goes before them, but it was like the brand was the company, not the person. And I guess if I should have an ego and say, hey, what about me? But it actually it's much. What's happened is that the company's become bigger than one person or 2 people or 3 people, and I think that there's a big advantage to that for agencies that really want to scale.
Yes.
You want them to come to you because the agency, the name, it's just like, you don't want to buy an Apple or an iPhone. I know everybody uses Apple. It's because of I'm not going to buy Steve Jobs or Tim Cook.
Right.
I'm buying it because it's Apple.
Got it.
So it's so much harder when you're a services business, when it's a personal touch to create that kind of a brand. So that's an exciting thing that I'm continuing to work on. And when we've done I'm trying to keep that as so putting more people in the front when we do events and continue to do that. So that, and also goes to employee brand, getting employees and things like that. When I look forward, I'm looking at, we're still in the middle of it. Companies are still not so quick to sign long-term agreements. They don't. The word retainer was always a hard thing to sell. It's gotten even harder, and we need to find new ways to get our foot in the door, and we need to go back to using the dirty word project. And we have it again. That's part of the shock realization and acceptance that I've had to go through.
Yeah,
it is
it's
back
not a
to
dirty
that
word. It's a get in and get trust and get building that again. It was always a hard sell with the retainer. It was I had a challenge with that when I worked in HubSpot too. I always thought, hang on a second, you earn that every month. You might have it signed that they're working with you for 12 months, but you earn it every day, every week, every month.
Absolutely.
It isn't the law. No, it's just a signed contract. Yeah, look, and I think everyone's just let it go. I always said that, didn't I? I remember, you remember that. I would just sign anything. I'd say yes to anything, get in and then figure it out, I think that comes from my dad, though. He has that attitude of like, and I think that right now, throw it all out the window and take the business, even if it's really elementary business that you're like, that we did that last year. I don't care if you did it last year. I don't care if you know too much. Get in and get it, and then start earning it up.
So, the only thing I would disagree with is we want to continue to be strategic about the type of business that we work with, the types of companies we work with, the type of work that we do, and so but we've built these product offerings around things that we're really good at, so that we continue to because part of the keeping that brand and keeping that is making sure that we're giving great service. So that's one thing. And so specifically, there's 2 or 3 new things that we've kind of come out with. We've created some a really good strategic partnership with, dare I say it, a Salesforce agency.
Oh, interesting. You'll have calls from HubSpot now in a second.
The reality, yeah. Well, I don't think it's a surprise to them, but 75% of our customers, if not more, are using the Salesforce CRM, and we are constantly working with somebody on the other side. And so this strategic partnership allows us to be able to go to our customer base and say, can get all of this under one roof, and be able and have one point of contact and be able to do this better. And the Salesforce agency, I'm calling it an agency, but they don't call themselves agencies. There's a system integrator.
Okay.
And their pain is they're doing these even marketing automation implementations, but their customers are saying, well, what do I do with it? What can I, and they don't have the resources. So they're saying, well, we'll talk to Penguin. They can help develop the marketing strategy, the execution around, around the marketing with all these tools that you're buying. So it's a really good thing. So I would encourage more cooperation around those types of things. So that's exciting, and it's already I can see the signs there. We did this virtual event a month ago.
Yes, yeah.
And I would love to. I think a lot of the great things that we've done over the years have been in a way accidental, but I think that you have to make your luck. And we ran into it. I wanted to be first. I wanted to make it awesome, and I wanted to make it interesting, and it was. And we learned a lot. We made a lot of good bets there, and we had an incredible, over 1,000 people show up. It was a 6-hour event. There were more than 500 people online during the thing, and we took all of those learnings and turned it into a product offering. And
amazing.
That wasn't my intent when it started, but it became part of that. And we just put together a really great blog talking through the whole thing, and a downloadable project sheet and a checklist. And
awesome. I'll put that in the show notes. Thank you, Perry. That's incredible.
And it's it. And we already have 2 customers on the line for it, and it's exciting because I think that this is going to be it's not like a new thing. People have done meetups or online or webinar, but we're talking about something at the next level.
Right.
And it's exciting stuff.
Yeah, and
I'll tell you. I know this is going to get aired later in 2 weeks, but our next one is going to be the June 3rd.
June 3rd. Okay. Yeah, we'll have it out before then. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll
we should have it out on we got the 20th. Yeah, we should have it out this month. I'll actually, do you know what? I'll make sure it is. So we'll put that link in.
I'm telling you, because by the time you publish this, it'll be public. But we're getting this speaker. You may have heard of him. His name's Brian Halligan.
No. Oh my God, that's incredible. That is so cool. Perry, we'll just wrap this up quickly, because I know you probably have loads of other things to do today, and I really appreciate, after all these years, finally having you on the show. Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
You read a lot of leadership books, and this is some of the personal habits that you've brought into the business. But with the result of the lockdown, I'm asking everyone this: what are you doing differently? What are you going to bring with you out of this lockdown, and what are you going to leave behind? What were you doing before that? You know what? I'm leaving that now. That's the old world. And what are you taking with you?
I think so. My favorite management book is The Hard Thing About Hard Things. I think I've mentioned it to you a number of times. It's definitely a Ben Horowitz book. And there was a lot of things in there that I thought would never be a reality to me. like hitting certain brick walls and, you know, going to the brink, as he talks about. And, you know, I read it and I was in my head, but I didn't believe it could happen. And now I need to be really, you know, really straight with myself that if I'd planned better, I could have gotten through this much healthier. And so I'm not going to let that happen again. And we're going to be building. I feel like I have a second chance to build. So in a talk I gave to the team a week ago, I said, one of the silver linings is that it's as if we get to go back to January 2019 and do 2019 over again, but this time with the hindsight, and we will not make those mistakes again.
Right.
And I listed all the mistakes, and we're going through it. So I think that's kind of where I see it.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to be learned from taking that attitude of, and I remember you talking about Ben Horowitz about the CEO being on their own, you know, like that loneliness, like that actual, God, I really am on my own. You were in a lockdown on your own, running your own business. There's probably a lot to go back through there, but you have an incredible team, an incredible management team, and you're in a very exciting industry. So Perry, thank you so much for being on the show. I look forward to seeing the virtual event that comes up. We'll put the show notes in from your learnings from your first one, and good on you getting Brian Halligan. That's he's thrilled because he doesn't have to fly anymore. He's a man who just like flights, you know. So thank you so much for being on the show, Perry. Really appreciate it.
Great.